So hello to the good people over the internet. Today we have with us, like these guys don't need an introduction, the good people from the band Bhayanak Maut. Well, the name is Bhayanak, but these guys are not. Am I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Depends what time of the day you catch us.
Oh shit. Well, that's it.
I
That's a
guess
good
you
intro.
failed that brief.
Don't worry, I fail it every time. Don't worry. My intro is the horrible intro. Back then, when I heard you guys first, I didn't know any history about this band. The only song, as I just said to all of you, I heard was Ranti Naha. I heard that song so much, I got that 100 rupees wala earphone, जिसमें अगर volume full कर दो तो ऐसा distortion है कि तुम साला बहर हो जाओगे. Something of that sort, and it's like hitting something like that. Ta, 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 the riff is going on. I was like, oh yeah, this is digging it. So, take us back to see the founding members of this band was a long back. The different. So how did it started? By far, what I've read in Wikipedia was like it started out in like November 2003 from Mumbai. So if you like could add on that and educate me basically.
I think Venki, you should start as the actual founding member in chronological order.
Chronological order, correct.
Yeah, you go first.
So BM actually was not supposed to be a band. We were just supposed to be a group of people trolling the entire scene. We were supposed to be, none of us knew how to play any instrument or something, but we wanted to like get gigs and go on stage and just make noise. And we were spoofing songs. Like one of our first song was Fruits Bloody Fruits. So that was our Sepultura.
That's pretty metal.
Yeah, no, that was not metal. It was supposed to be like really dumb.
Okay.
But then I think it's when Rahul joined the band is when we realized that, oh shit, I mean this we have someone who can play an instrument. So why not do justice to it? So then we actually started, kind of jamming, doing covers and coming up with songs. So I think that's when it kind of started. And November, I think what you know is when we played the first gig.
November 13th, 2003, correct.
Yeah, that was the first gig at Raz.
So you formed and
so
played
just to add,
it was much
just
before.
to now. This is like Venki has told you sort of like phase one of how the band started. They actually had a news article out in a magazine before they played their first ever show or before, so they were already like a popular, like people knew the band and they hadn't played a single show, not a single song was out, nothing. So they were building on that hype. And then we actually got a show, which was this November something show. And in preparation for that, like I knew Venki through college and GeekPad forums. That was the common point. And he was like, oh, you can play drums. You want to like try and jam? We jammed once. It was great. Very different music from what I was doing at that point. And then, like
you were playing like thrash metal stuff, right? Yeah.
Heavier music. This was more like, I would say, new metal when we first kind of started off with Bhayanak Maut. Those were the interests. Like System of a Down was definitely an interest. Korn, bands like that. But yeah, like Venki said, at that point in the band, it was only Venki who could play guitar and I who could play drums. No one else could play anything. We literally distributed like, okay, you aren't that good at guitar, so you'll play bass. You're not good at anything, so you're the vocalist. That's kind of how the first avatar of the band was formed. And all to play a gig, we played a gig. We were still in college, Venki and I at that point.
Yeah.
He was in his third year. I was in my first year. And then cut to now. So that was, I think, 2003 to about 2005. Around then, and then I'll let Aditya take over because that's when he joined the band. And
I think I joined
2006. Sorry,
2006.
Yeah. End of 2006. Sorry, end of 2006. Yeah.
So I was 4 years old in 2006. How good
wow,
is that?
Dude! Oh man, Venki, Aditya, how often do you hear that nowadays? Like
no, never.
You're telling a story and oh no, okay, cool.
I was just born.
Nostalgia.
No,
Yeah,
in fact, at
playlist.
that point, in that time, we also had an album and stuff, which was like really,
Yeah,
rudimentarily produced. I mean, we really wanted to write those songs, but however bad they were, but we were kind of building towards becoming better as a band
yeah,
together. And that's
Yeah.
when even Aditya joined. We thought we wanted to like have a much more fuller, bigger sound. So we had another guitarist. That till
Ah.
that point it was a one guitar band, single
we
guitar.
were a four-piece band at that point. Just one singer,
Mm.
one guitarist, one bassist, and I was on drums.
Mm.
And that was our lineup for a while. We had
Mm.
lineup changes with that as well. The first vocalist and bass player left, and then we got Vinay and Vinit in. Then Aditya joined, like 2006, 2007 onwards. We started actively
Mm.
playing, writing much more music, and then yeah, the rest is history, or as they say, or whatever. Yeah, it's been a long time
वापस
since
जाना
then.
पड़ेगा.
Yeah, वापस जाना पड़ेगा वही.
Then I think
हाँ.
that at that point is when I think Aditya came in and Aditya, you can say this properly. I think that's when Ranti Nasha kind of came into the band. That
Yeah,
was like one of
yeah.
the initial songs
It
that
was
we
one of the
had.
first songs actually. Yeah, that he brought into the table. Correct. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the history of the band. Yeah, Aditya, go for it.
No, I guess yeah. I think at that point also, uh, Sunny also joined the band, and Sunny and
So
me were
a little, yeah.
previously in a different band at that point called Amidst the Chaos, and
Mm.
we would end up playing a lot of gigs where because I was the common member, I would end up being playing for two bands at the same time, and eventually it led to a point where what was happening is also that is the time when all these bands were focusing on more on original music rather than
Mm.
covers. There was like a dynamic shift during that point in the scene, so to say. So I think in pursuit of a different sound, I think we also integrated it with, I think, Vinay's idea that maybe we should try two vocals or try that kind of
Mm.
uh, thing at that point. And so Sunny joined the band also at that point. And I think by the time Sunny had joined, we already had quite a bit of songs ready because I remember coming into the band, learning old songs. And I think there were a couple of new songs that were written at that point, and then we started writing together. That's how
Mm.
I think came up came about. At least what was going on at that point.
Yeah, I think after that shift, right, where we kind of combined the band, I think that's when we got that new sound, fuller sound. It was with
Mm.
six
Yeah,
piece. It was a
Mm.
six-piece band, then two vocalists, two
Startup.
guitarists. Yeah, that's when, yeah, fully, and that's when it kind of like started making sense. As the BM sound, like that's when it shifted from
The
just a
signature
generic
sound of
band.
Bhayanak Maut. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Because like Aditya said, the focus was more on now our music, what we were writing. We started recording a lot of that, just paying more attention to that. It wasn't just about covering bands that inspired us and throwing in originals. We were playing all original sets and just playing a cover or two for fun. So that
Mm.
that added definitely to our sound. That defined our sound. It was a lot more established for when we recorded the Red album in 2009. That was
Mm.
the start of this version of our sound for sure.
Wow. Well, it
Yeah,
kind of
and
hits
we've said
different.
all this, and we've kind of just about reached 2009. So yeah,
Teen se
like
no.
we should do this. We should do this like Aditya's like in bass player timeline, in
Yeah,
Bhayanak Maut's
that
bass
was
player timeline. Yeah.
this was second basis. This is
Okay.
Now we have entered
two
the second bassist phase
second
of
basis
Bhayanak Maut.
time
Second
frame.
basis
Actually,
phase
now this
now.
is the cusp of the second going to third. 2009
Haha,
to
yeah,
10
actually,
is
yeah.
kind of like that. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Why are all
Kind of
the
like
bass
Spinal
players
Tap.
troubled? What are your thoughts on this?
Exactly. We're like Spinal Tap. We have some
Yeah,
bad
we
bass
lose.
player juju.
I don't like your face, go.
No, I think, but now post 2015, that's kind of been steady.
Yeah.
Then our
Mhm.
luck shifted towards vocalists.
Correct.
And then we lost two vocalists, so that's a total of three vocalists, three bass players.
Three or
Yeah.
four bass players. One
Holy shit.
One
interim,
was a like
one,
stand-in,
yeah,
One stand-in, so three and a half,
yeah, three and a half bassists.
three
Three
and a
and a
session
half
basis.
bases.
three and a
It's
half
like
basses, three vocalists.
Oh my God.
TV show. Three and a half bassists
Yeah,
and two
and two
vocalists.
vocalists.
Oh my God. No, that definitely sounds like a TV show.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like all of you, what was your all of your like musical influences from the very childhood? Like you guys listen to metal or listen to rap and then came to metal? What was like all of yours childhood in terms of getting good music into the ears?
I think all three of us grew up in households where there was a lot of music, very diverse music at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of everything was playing. Uh, I'm gonna start first. Like there was a lot of growing up, a lot of old Bollywood music, a lot of old Tamil music, a lot of South Indian music, Malayalam music,
Mm.
that kind of stuff. And also, I had an uncle that would listen to The Doors, Deep Purple,
Wow.
Black Sabbath back then. Uh, so weekends, we whenever we'd go and visit that uncle on the weekends, there was always new music we were listening to, and he was a really big Deep Purple and The Doors fan. So we would listen to them particularly quite a lot. So at a very early age, I was kind of listening to Indian music as well as a lot of Western music, and
Mm.
Western music caught my ear for sure. Of course, there was a phase where I think it was you couldn't escape it, where you'd listen to some pop music or the other that was going on around that time, like whatever 95 to 98. But I think around 97, 98 was when I started listening to the gateway was Metallica, I would say.
Yeah.
Like that was the first metal band that kind of became that really draw my attention to metal.
Mm.
And then the next milestone band was Slayer for me. And then
Slayer,
from
yes.
Slayer, the horizons kind of just really widened from that point on for me. I became more extreme in my likes towards metal. So I mean, that's been it's been like very very varied music for me growing up. So yeah, I used to sing,
What
then I
band
stopped
after
singing, and this.
what band did came after Slayer? Lamb of God.
At some point on the road, definitely Lamb of God, but there was also a lot of other bands. There was Panthera. There was, in the whole heavier scheme of things, bands like Suffocation, bands like Deicide,
Mm.
Dying Fetus. I
Dying
mean,
Fetus.
going back, Napalm Death, started listening
Or
to
Morbid Angel.
more bands like that. Morbid Angel, exactly, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
But again, like this was just like Slayer was the starting point. Slayer was the reason I started liking all those bands and more modern heavy metal bands like Decapitated,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. Like, but yeah, like I mean, the list goes on and on. And at one point in Bhayanak Maut, between the five of us, the musical differences is like a Spotify random playlist. It really is
Mhm.
because we listen to all kinds of music. Yeah, so I mean, I'll let someone else take over.
Mhm. So who
Venki,
wants to
go
You
for it.
go?
say you want to go?
Mhm.
Yeah, I can go. For me, I mean, my upbringing was mostly. I mean, my childhood was mostly around pop. Like I was listening to a lot of Michael Jackson and stuff. Uh, lot of Hindi music, a lot of Tamil music, lot of A.R. Rahman and shit. But I think my shift happened. I mean, I shifted to English, primarily metal, was when I heard Iron Maiden for the first time, and that was in college, pretty late in life. I had no clue what metal was until then. And from Iron Maiden, it was like the door was open, and then I just started listening to a lot of I I was like a new metal kid, so I wanted to jump around a lot. So I would listen to a lot of new metal stuff, a lot of Roadrunner records,
Ah.
cassettes. Like I would be there at the shop, buying that shit first day at Planet M. So that's where I started like wanting to play that music. I think it was Slipknot's initial
Yeah,
albums when I really wanted to play the music uh, or make music like that. It was not just as a fan. So I think that's when the shift happened, and then got into playing with people. I remember jamming with uh, Scribe's vocalist Vishwesh in college,
Wish
like just
wish.
for fun. Like those were kind of like the building blocks to where we've eventually met up with Rahul and kind of started playing music. So yeah, that was kind of the musical exposure and how I got into wanting to play metal and playing metal with this band.
Mhm. Wow, interesting. Aditya sir?
Yeah, nothing much. I guess so my how I got into metal was probably because I think I went from Bollywood, listening to Bollywood music as a kid, to listening to soundtracks. I mean, that's the kind of jump that happens. Bollywood is the original soundtrack of that movie, and then you shift to I mean Hollywood movies and soundtracks, which kind of were
Mm.
popular in the day, and you would have videos for that which would pop up. So I think I went from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to a friend telling me that, you know what, there is this video in which Arnold comes and he's like playing with the band. So I was like, okay.
I need to
And
watch that.
I got to watch that. And so it turned out to be a Last Action Hero soundtrack. So I didn't
Mhm.
even see the
AC/DC.
video till like years later. I didn't even see it. He just told me that, "Okay, Arnold is there in that," and I went and bought that soundtrack. And that is just filled with heavy metal bands. And I think by that was I was in seventh grade or eighth grade. And I think by ninth grade, uh, I think in a class of maybe 60, there were four kids who were listening to metal. So by that time, kids were listening to like Metallica, Van
Yeah.
Halen, and all that kind of stuff, Megadeth, Guns N' Roses, and all that kind of shit. And so I think there was a plan made then that these kids should start a band, and it kind of grew from there. So I think by the time we were in college or we had cleared 12th, I think we had a band, and with the intention that you got to play in college.
Mhm.
That's how it started. And we used to jam at our friend's place, who's the drummer, and Rahul would come in for tuitions to the same house.
Yeah,
Oh.
I was waiting for this to
Oh.
surface. Yeah, full circle. Physics tuitions.
So
Oh.
So by the time I kind of got back into the scene, because I to take time out for college and education and all that, Rahul was kind already an established like figure in the scene. And like my friend would tell me like, hey, that kid, he's playing in this band and stuff. So I would eventually start meeting him in and around the scene, say from 2004, 2005, start seeing him play at gigs and all of that. I think so. I kind of knew him as compared to the rest of the guys in the band, and kind of by that time I was playing heavy metal, and I was kind of already shifted into decidedly playing original music. So
Wow.
we had kind of that going on at the same time with Sunny in my band at that point. Eventually we kind of got together. I think they put out an ad to which on the gig
Yeah,
forum, gig pad and maybe RSJ or something, that they're looking for a guitarist. So I answered and I went to chill out.
yeah, yeah.
That was an interesting ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and glad he responded because like several things happened. Like, I mean, just for starters, in terms of sound for BM, we used to play on six-string guitars at drop D tuning.
Oh, ha
Like
ha ha.
when
The
we
typical
started
Lamb of
off,
God guitars. Ha ha ha.
Yeah,
more
yeah,
like from the
fully.
new metal, like
Ha
New
Death
metal
ha
Wish,
sound.
ha. Mm.
sound, maybe System of a Down, that kind of, we
Mm.
would be able
The
to
E
do all of
string
that. Then,
is down tuned to D.
and I remember
Correct.
first, Aditya, you had that Les. I don't know, was it a baritone? You tuned that
No, no,
Les
no.
Paul lower, something you done
No,
to
no.
that Les Paul,
I
and
had a
then
seven string.
He had a seven
you had the
string.
He
seven
was
string,
he
but
was
didn't you
already
do
gent.
something to? No, so then we
Yeah. So
bought the
this.
seven string, and then Venki got a seven string, and then when
Mm.
the both of them started writing together on that seven string guitar, then the it started forming our like real sound as well. So yeah,
Yeah. I
that's why
Mm.
think that was
it felt
2000,
comfortable.
2003 or 2004. I think me and Prashant, we would be discussing about 7-string guitars, and I think by that time we had already bought the guitars and we were playing that
Yeah.
in the scene also, I think, by that point.
Yeah.
And writing music that was 7-string oriented. Like,
You
because
guys were
by then I
covering
think,
Nevermore and all, at that point.
Nevermore and all.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I think at that point, like, there was this big scene in the international scene of bands playing 7-string guitars, Steve Vai, Korn, Fear Factory,
Oh yes.
Morbid Angel, Meshuggah. So these guys had already shifted to 7-string, and it's easier to play on a lower tuning on the 7-string than down
Yeah.
tune your 6-string.
Cha, cha,
So
cha, cha, cha.
I think we were heavily influenced by all those bands at that time. So like a lot of these bands at that point were already making that jump scribe, exhumation, amidst the chaos, Bhayanak Maut. So that kind of was the progression at that point.
Yeah.
I saw on Wikipedia that the name actually came from a movie. So you guys didn't sit and like
Yeah, yeah.
brainstorm it. Like what? How did that process go? You're sitting like
No,
इस
no, it
band को
was
कुछ नाम देना है.
नहीं नहीं ऐसा कुछ था ही नहीं वो पहले से मतलब the ex bassist right Jason and Sriram they already had seen that poster and they were like what if you keep a cheesy name because at that point there were lots of these Hindi sounding names right
हाँ Hindi
uh,
sounding names हाँ.
Dharti,
It's not
Agni
really. It's
Antariksh or whatever.
To be
yeah
Something like that.
honest, I don't think it's really anything out of the blue or
yeah
from
it's
the
not
metal scene. The greatest band, Black Sabbath, is named after a movie. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are so many of these bands that take their names
And even
from
Opeth,
inspiration
it is
from
from a
movies.
novel if I'm not wrong.
So
maybe
I mean,
the logic behind the name was ki let's just have fun with it. It just stuck. That's all.
and it kind of become the branding of the band somehow the later.
It was very high on recall value. You won't forget that name. Like I tell my
Hmm.
relatives that I play for a band called Bhayanak Maut, they get scandalized. But they'll not forget the band name.
And the relatives
They'll
won't
go
call you the
around.
next day.
I mean, that's irrespective. They'll not forget that band name. Like, oh fuck, Bhayanak Maut, that's a pretty radical name, or it's such a catchy name, or such a
bro,
unique
they
name, or
won't
whatever.
call you, and again, I mean, you've reached a point where you have to be inclusive of LGBTQAIA. So being inclusive about a band that's named Bhayanak Maut, unless we want it to be LGBTQAIBM. So
Oh shit.
I
Oh
mean,
my
coming
god.
from South Indian backgrounds, it's far more easier to say, okay.
सही
That
है, सही है, सही है.
let's just call it top set, Bhayanak Maut.
चलो
Correct.
कोई दिक्कत नहीं. Damn it. Back then the logo was also designed. Like you guys sat and designed, or the founding members did design the
So it was
logo.
all Venki. That was all Venki. Pretty much has been the spearhead. He's been spearheading BM identity art. Like the logo, at least for the longest time, was Venki. It was just I think on Man where we actually got art done outside.
Yeah, yeah.
Apart from that, everything else is mostly you.
No,
Yeah.
I think from starting from Man, we've been like going to artists outside, even like our
Right.
singles from Pindakas and
Yeah.
Road
Shoreline and
Smokers. Shoreline was done by me, but yeah,
you
most of
did
the
that.
art
Yeah.
was
Correct.
done by because at that point it was not like there were many metal artists, so to get that vision or at least the look out, you had to like think of or at least do something that was different. So that's why I thought I'd take up because I could do designing.
Yeah.
But it was just the need to kind of look different or be be easily identifiable, be unique, be at least do justice to the sound.
Oh, yeah. I kind of stuck for a till now. The thing you designed, thought of, it kind of made a personality for the band with its signature sound. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. Now that's a true artist. when you bought the logo and what was all
Yeah.
of your
And
reactions?
definitely. No, so definitely the Bhayanak Maut logo also on a side note. it kept evolving also from what it started with to
Mm.
what it finally
Mm.
became, kept evolving with the music. Like just to
Yeah.
add to what you were saying. So like it as and more we were certain with what we were putting out, the logo became a lot more
Mm.
defined, and it had
Mm.
this strong element of a crow for a very long time.
Yeah,
And that
that
was like
top one.
the thing in the band. Yeah, but then we've dropped the crow now. So yeah.
Crow खो गया
I
है.
think, yeah, Crow bhag
Yeah,
gaya wo.
it flew away, yeah.
Flew
Flew away.
away.
But it's again coming back to the logo or whatever. I think it's actually secondary to the band, because it's what the sound is like. For example, the uh, we even did a different kind of logo now, which was like a spoof of the GM alcohol bottle. So that's BM in Hindi. So it's keeps
Yeah.
evolving.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
the thing is,
not something that we're
it's
stuck with.
it's not something that's stuck, but at the same time, it's moved to a point where can't be secondary. It is got to, you know, be part of the primary selling point, because bands are now going to make only merch via, I mean,
Ah,
make money via merch.
yeah.
So if you have
Mm-hmm.
a catchy logo or a logo that's evolving, so you
Mm-hmm.
can always add to your repertoire of shirts, and we can sell more merch. So
Mm-hmm.
that's always the point that we've approached, that every shirt should have something different. Every merch that we are having, the logo is slightly changing in some way, or along with the art. So it's moved from the point where, yeah, okay, it used to be where the image would be important and it's going to pop up in,
Mm-hmm.
say, print media. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case anymore now. If you're looking at making money, it's primary that you have a cool logo that kind of not only
Yeah.
resonates, but it's also adding value to your merch, which you can sell.
Yeah. Sure. That's for sure. Mm. You guys have been for a long time. You have seen metal music in India evolve for a certain time. I would like to know, like, as I was born in that kind of time, I don't really know the history of what happened. Uh, can you like brief us about how has the metal scene, especially the metal music in India, has changed? Whether it's forming a band, doing solo stuff, you're a metal vocalist doing your own shit, original or covers, and what it is now. Like, are you guys seeing that the graph is in a linear position, it's growing up, or it's like coming down?
Uh,
It's a tough question, but like I don't think the graph is going up for sure. It's the kids nowadays. I haven't come across any new bands really that have stood out for me, at least in the metal scene. Uh, don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen that. There was a point in time when there were bands like forming. There were forums like GigPad. There were
Mm.
venues that will paid gigs would happen. Gigs would happen. None of that is happening, right? So there is no system around that would want kids to say, "Fuck, let's form a band and play." So I think that is because there is the other support structures are not there. The bands are not there.
so, I mean, adding to that, like, I mean, there has been a curve. Yes, you can see an improvement curve. But again, I don't know if that's with the bands or the talent or the kind of music that's coming out. But
Mm.
I mean, I can very confidently say, like, we kind of paved the way for a lot of good things that bands can enjoy now, right? We've played with like horrible backline. We've played in situations where there's sometimes no gear on stage or very minimal monitors. You have to share two monitors for a stage. It's like a, you know, the scenes, particularly with equipment back in the day was really bad. I mean, it was, and cut to now, you have epic backline. You have, a
Good
great drum kit that
logistics.
shows up to every gig. Logistics are taken care of. The whole production of the gig is taken care of. You have cool looking lights. You have maybe a little visual screen going on behind. You have, guys paying attention to detail, like traveling with their sound person
Mm.
or traveling with their equipment. Speaking of which, even that's gone the linear curve.
Mm.
Equipment back then we couldn't afford it. There wasn't enough exposure or access to equipment, but now all of that has changed. You can kind of get whatever gear you want in India, and it's just a matter of you being good at your craft and you can use that piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of that has definitely gotten better. And bands like us and some of the other guys from that era definitely were the guys that did the groundwork, the legwork for the future generations of bands to kind of put up a great show. So, like, I remember I played a gig where there was a chain tied to my bass drum and my throne. It's so the bass drum wouldn't move forward while I was playing double bass,
Oh,
and the toms
wow.
would turn on that. So you don't see that shit at gigs now, man. Like, I mean, that
Ah.
that doesn't happen now. Like, you have solid gear, solid equipment. So bands are starting off at a pretty good level. Like, like already, like, there's good equipment to play with. So you are going to sound bass level all right. You're not going to sound like, it's not going to sound really bad. It's going to sound like something which isn't so bad. So I feel like that's been a linear curve. If you want to look back from then to now with changes and what else kind of happened, definitely that's, in that sense, yes, the metal scene has progressed. People are more equipment conscious. They're more sound conscious. They know what they want to sound like,
The
and
basics
all
are
of that
taken care
is,
of.
yeah. I mean, like, all of that's in place. Yeah.
Wow. Anything like Aditya sir would add?
So I think growth-wise, definitely. So I mean, from being like a 13-year-old kid getting into Rang Bhavan to see bands that are playing covers and to see originals being booed to eventually seeing and playing at IROCs where we are playing complete original sets. So that's a major step that happened. I think that what majorly happened was the exposure to the internet of a lot of kids and the access to music at that point not only led to having diverse tastes. I think because prior to that it was just based on what you would get off of the market,
Mm-hmm.
whatever music you can get off the market, to being exposed to a virtual library of probably anything in any genre you probably want to listen to. So kids went from that to playing diverse covers to starting to incorporate that into their own music. And I think by 2003, 4, there were bands that were focusing solely on original music. By 2008, you could have crowds who knew all those songs.
Wow.
Singing along. Yeah.
So that ways there has been a huge growth where you play covers to now you can go to any show, metal show, and you would have kids playing their own songs. So they'll have a couple of covers and all thrown in. But what I'm not seeing is that also the growth wise, if you see, then more bands now can have a model in which they can make some money off of touring,
Mm-hmm.
off of merch, or keep themselves sustainable in some way or form, whether it's Demonic Resurrection, whether it's Cryptos, whether it's Gutslit.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys have found a way to not only tour internationally, but to at least break even, if not make a certain profit because they're investing time and
And now
energy.
also
So
we have Bloodywood.
Yeah. Bloodywood
Bloody,
as
Yeah,
yeah.
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
So you do get all these bands who have taken their original music, then applied a business model to it, and
Mm-hmm.
they're reaping in the benefits. But what I'm not seeing growth-wise is creativity-wise is the scene is kind of stagnated, where it's kind of gone back to where uh, people are relying more on their influences and genres are more important
Ah.
rather than putting out uh, a slab of music which is ever evolving or able to incorporate newer elements or originality. I mean, now sure, you can even production wise, you can have bands, you could just put it in a random playlist and you wouldn't even know that it's a Indian band.
Yeah.
But then it kind of bleeds into
Uh-huh.
that creativity wise, then there is a slump.
Mm. And also, like with the advent of the internet, what I personally think is uh, now everyone can, like, music is kind of like, or let's take a bigger picture, like art is kind of democratized, right? So one can write a song and publish it within 7 days through a DistroKid or CD Baby to thousands of platforms or hundreds of platforms, and they can kind of get an exposure. But what I also think is that's good that all these people have exposure, but at the same time, what I personally like, correct me if I'm wrong, back when music was getting started, India was kind of being known by यहाँ पे भी bands होते हैं, यहाँ पे भी music होता है, धमाके होता है, सिर्फ Bollywood नहीं, ये भी होता है, वो भी होता है. Am I right that back at that time people took music seriously, even the artists themselves, and now they are kind of चलो 2 chord बजा के गाना upload कर दो.
I wouldn't agree with that, because if you like you mentioned, right, Bloodywood, like it's not like they have carved out a sound, and it's not like they are just doing it for the heck of it. They've carved out the sound, and they've created their own market. Like it's like they've created from scratch. So
Product
there
market
are
fit.
bands. Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but they have been creative and they have been sensible in that
Yeah.
sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say that there is room for you, like Aditya was saying, like if there is a creative sound and there is a unique sound, there is room for that, but it needs
Yeah.
to happen more.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like just put out music. Just putting out music is not the only thing. You have to also
Market it.
market it and get it to the right people, get it to people who want to listen to that kind of sound.
See, not only that, you have to understand for any musician, this is a great time to live where you can actually make money off it. Now, if you're making money off of it, it's like any other profession. You can either put in the bare basic that is required to get through your 9 to 5, just to make sure that hey, this is coming in, this is a steady source of income, this is what the public like, this is what the masses like, give it to them, this is what you get. So you can choose to be part of that cycle, or you can choose to up your game if you feel that you want to break boundaries or build another side or show another side of your creativity. That's up to you. But that goes like with any other profession. It's up to you how much time, energy, creativity you want to invest into it. Unfortunately, this field is such where creativity also is a parameter as compared to any other job where that need not come into the picture. And that tends to be a parameter even on which your audience may judge you by.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't judge you by that. So it's okay. So to each their own. The fact that you can still make money off of it now than you could 20 years ago also, where the market was far more niche, difficult to put your music out. You now are basically a click away from your listener. So, like I said, any profession, either you put in the bare basic or you decide how you
Break the
want to build on
boundaries.
it.
Yeah, especially when it's so crowded and you can access every kind of music and so many artists at
That's
the
what I
same
was going
time.
to say. Like we have an
You
outpouring
need
of
to be,
original music right now.
yeah, so you need to focus on the creativity first, and then kind of
The business side
go
of
out
things.
of there. Yeah, go out of there. But yeah, you need to really put in that creative and time to break the clutter, basically.
Oh. Rahul, sir, anything?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's right to say people were more serious back then or now. I mean, if you're serious about it, your work gets out, people know about it. As simple as that. That's the bottom line, right? If you're serious about it, like you're a, I wouldn't say popular, but a successful band. You have your following, you have all of that, you have the streams, people listen to your music. And if the attitude is I'm just gonna play 2 chords and kind of get by and see what happens, there's only so long you're going to be around. So yeah, it's as simple as that, I guess. So yeah, I mean, and that's kind of been the same back then and now. We, I mean, we've known bands and peers from around our time that weren't as serious as we were, and bands haven't stuck around as long as we have. So I mean, it's as simple as that. Just yeah, if you're serious about it, you're serious about it. If not, you're not. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. That's interesting. You guys have released 3 albums, if I'm not wrong, from like 2003, 5, right?
Yeah, I mean, What is Hell is All People an album or an EP? What is that?
No, I think it's more an
That
EP,
was
right?
it was our first
The
ever release, and it was
Red
seven
album.
songs. Was
Red
the
album
first
was our
album.
real album.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was 2009.
2009.
So
What
we
was
have
that
Red
Okay.
and
fine-tuned
Man.
disaster?
That was an
That was
EP
just
again,
an
right? Like
EP.
four
That was
songs.
a
What was
feature
it called?
EP.
Malignant.
Malignant, yeah.
That was Malignant, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of EPs, like so like that's a lot of songs we release 3 or 4 at a time in the form of EPs. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But albums, yeah, I mean technically on paper three, but yeah, two actual full length albums, two. Yeah.
That's Red
What
and Man.
Red and Man?
Yeah.
How was the songwriting process? Like in very short, like what you guys thought of? Like, chalo, you're a band now. You have to be serious. Or like, were you guys serious from the very start? I was like, take a yeah, this is kind of a fun passion for us. Let's do it. Let's make a song. Or you're like, no, you have to
We
sit
had
and
no
carve out details
we
and
had no option but to be a little serious because we'd spend about 2.5 hours in traffic getting to jam. So just the
oh,
frustration
totally
of
gets.
that was good enough to go through a 2 or 3 hour jam. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, we enjoyed making music. That was, I mean, let's start there. That process is always fun, like, and with this gang, it's fun. Like, we are writing songs, it's great. So the process starts there. Like, you should just enjoy writing music to start with. And even if not, don't force it. Just try and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. If it
But
flows.
we used to jam at my house first.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be where we jammed for the longest time, and then we started moving to a rehearsal space in a part of Andheri. Just getting to there was really bad because a lot of road work was going on back then. The metro work was going on. It was horrible to get there, painful. But it
I
was
think it's
a
easier.
very,
It was easier to get there back then.
as in, no,
It
dude,
was
no
easier to
chance.
get back to
No,
Andheri
Abhi at least
back then
metro.
than
I mean, we
nowadays.
tell with gear we can't go in the metro, but no, dude, no, 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 no. It's much better now.
It's always
At
been
I think
least,
40,
horrible, yeah.
no, I mean, say
Yeah.
Sakinaga is always fucked. Like that's
Yeah.
perennial. That's the situation. But no, 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 no. It was. I remember, dude. It would take us really long. Like Aditya and I would carpool.
Oh,
So
carpool.
anyway, coming back to this, we'd go to this jam room in Andheri. It also worked out because all of us are working at this point. We all had day jobs. So like just meeting randomly at my house could not happen because we could only meet late at nights
Uh-huh.
or at odd hours of the day. So we started using a rehearsal space. And then after that, I think that studio was our headquarters for a while. I ran a
Wow.
studio for a while for 5 years. A jam room comes and a studio as well. So we used to rehearse there. And now we're back to using other rooms around. But the writing process has always been the same. I mean, we set up, we catch up on what's been going on with everyone, and then kind of someone will either come in with an idea like, okay, I have a riff idea, or I have this. Either Venki or Aditya will say, okay, I have an idea, and they'll start playing something, and we start jamming. And it's a very there's no tried and tested formula. Sometimes
Yeah, it's
songs
very
can take
fluid
6 months.
process. Yeah.
Sometimes it can take 30 minutes. Like it's we've had both those situations. So there's no hard and fast rule on how we go about writing music. But yeah, it starts from a place of fun always. Like, hey, this sounds good, and then we start jamming. Yeah, it's always that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So all of your chemistry also like managed together. It's like there was a common point between all of you guys while you were like sitting to make a song or jam.
no, I think it's far more now the chemistry than before
Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, back then, one, it was obviously you have to be surrounded by people who are also, pushing you to make original music or
Mm-hmm.
driving you to try something out on an instrument. And the scene was like that. Whether it was the place we would jam in, which was filled with other bands where would come in trying to make original music, or you go to shows where you're playing shows and you have four covers and you see other bands having just so many more originals, and then seeing that the crowd is able to get response. I mean, the band is able to get a response in the crowd from them. So that drives you to write even more original music that can connect with the masses. uh, but even at that point, it would, at least for me, I was in a phase where I could give time. So I would come in with full songs,
Wow.
and there would be very little change to that. I mean, then Rahul would jam with me, and then we would show it to the band. and we would either take it, test it live, or it would go directly on record. Baba would come in with full songs.
Yeah.
So I think at least there was a phase. I think even by then, even Baba would still be at work. I think Rahul would be free for more often. So we would
Yeah,
meet up far more often and keep trying stuff, especially after you'd got the jam room,
Mhm.
exactly.
the studio. So like we would, whenever we would meet, we would write
Wow.
and we would try new stuff.
Mhm.
But still, that was like a very, 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 how do I put it? Like a rigid process as compared to how things go now, where you could just
Mhm.
come in with one riff for the songwriting session. We practically stopped jamming during the lockdown. So you would come in with one riff, and maybe an hour later, 2 hours later, you would have an entire song because everyone has given their input, and you can
We
make
are
do
just
with that
we're just like riffing off of each other now more than before. Think
before.
earlier it was like full songs. Yeah, that's a song. Learn the song and play it. Like just
Mhm.
jam the song basically. It was not songwriting in that sense.
Wow. So creative things came out of having fun, interestingly.
Yeah, I mean, correct.
Yeah.
Wow. What are the last two questions?
Even when we
Yeah, please go.
no, even when we didn't have a vocalist, the objective was to make music. We
Exactly.
would
Yeah.
still we
Freaking
would still meet
inspired
up and
band.
write music. It was
Wow.
never that, you know, let's stop that. Because
Mm-hmm.
eventually you do realize, or you have to come to respect that when certain people come together, there is a certain output.
Yeah.
If you choose to ignore on that, then that is, obviously not taking, um, I mean, I mean, how do I put it, benefit of that chemistry.
Mm-hmm. No rewards reaped.
I mean, it comes automatically when I think all of us get together and each one has contributes in their own way.
Mm-hmm. How did the bass player reacts every time a new riff came into the house?
I mean,
So
he has
Now,
always
see,
something
now,
to add.
yes.
yeah.
So
He,
coming back to bass player chronology, in as an analogy, Ishan has been our Rob Trujillo, bro. If you think
Okay.
about it, Rob has played the longest for Metallica,
Yeah,
right?
longest for Metallica. Yeah.
Ishan he's been the longest in Bhayanak Maut. So
Wow.
he's our Rob. But no, yeah, no, he's damn good, man. He's a very musical guy, very theoretic, music theory wise, he's very sound. He's a great
Mm-hmm.
player. He always
Mm-hmm.
has something to add, either be it
Mm-hmm.
the bass or the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to harmony ideas,
Wow.
he's just an all-round great guy. He's a producer as well, so he's good with the software. So when we're recording or demoing stuff,
Mm.
it's always very handy to have him around. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
And
it
like
was a
the
huge upgrade for us.
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Like for us earlier, bass was just following what the guitar was playing, but now it's like
Yeah,
we
Bass as a
have a
separate part.
songwriter. Yeah,
yeah,
he's a songwriter, right? So he's adding in. It's not just bass. He's contributing with guitar parts. Even the bass line is now it's making the sound much bigger, different,
yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before the bass, we just follow the riff basically. Before now, the bass stands out. You can hear it doing its own thing.
Mm-hmm. Finally, our bass player won.
Yeah, yeah. Finally,
Finally,
And I
yeah.
think it's also
well done,
Rahul
Rob.
and Ishan kind of like uh, uh kind of play off of each other very well. So the rhythm section is
Yeah.
now I think
So we kind of
better than
met
ever it's
first.
been.
Yeah, we met first with another band and called the Hoodwink Circle. It was great fun. Like from the
Mm.
minute I started jamming with him, I knew this is nice. This guy's a solid bass player. It was just this very comfortable vibe. And then when it came time looking for a bass player for Bhayanak Maut, we kind of went through the process. His name came up, and I was glad. So yeah, like Venki said, like uh, it's a lot more fun when you have an active bass player who's constantly coming up with ideas. Why don't we try this here? Or what you were
Ah.
doing there? Can you try that? Let's try and do that. Like it's always nice to
Mm.
have
Mm.
that kind of chemistry going on because these
Mm.
guys are usually feeding off each other. Like Aditya and
Mm.
Venki are constantly doing something. So it's always nice to have another side conversation like this with Ishan going on when they're doing
Mm.
this. So yeah,
Wow. pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
So you guys have done so many gigs all across the world, if I would add. You have toured the entire
All
earth.
across India and one in the world. Yeah.
one
One in the
one outside.
One
One
Yeah.
outside India. Yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of a very vague question, but I like to ask this. I don't know why. So three of you are here. So three tips, three questions, three answers from your side. What was the best gig you guys performed? Which doesn't have a definition, but I don't know. This is kind of a foolish question, but I'd like to ask anyway. What was the worst gig, and what was the first gig?
Oh wow. Okay.
Best, worst, first.
I need a second because best gig is very hard to pinpoint exactly one.
Exactly.
It's very hard.
There's so many
Many
of
best
them.
gigs.
Worst gig I can also is very hard to pinpoint exactly one.
Many worst gigs.
And
But the
okay,
one that gives
you want to
nightmares
go-
till now.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Baba, you want
I
to go
think we
first?
should just go one by one because first
So
I'll go
best.
the reverse order. Yeah, I'll go the
Okay.
reverse order, which is first was Raz, of course. Raspberry
First gig, yeah,
Rhinoceros and
correct.
Jew. Yeah,
13th of November.
yeah.
Baba,
The
I
worst.
had a history exam next day. All that, correct.
Yeah. I've had many worst gigs, but I think one of the worst gigs I've had was when I was not even on stage. We had gone all the way to Pune, and I please, and if there are guitarists out there, please carry spare batteries because if your battery has run out, you're probably not going to be on stage with your own band. You're in the audience. So that was like
Yeah.
that was headbanging in the audience. So in that sense, it was fun, but that was kind of annoying that I was not on stage. The best gig, there are shitloads, man. Like I think in terms of experience, it was Oslo, and in
Oslo.
terms of just the fun we had was another one was Launchpad. There are many. I think we can. There are lots of good gigs than bad gigs actually.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
yeah, like
interesting.
Venki said, first gig definitely that was Raz, correct. First gig with Aditya was GIR. Actually, we did a gig before GIR. Nothing. That was straight GIR Delhi. That was our
No,
first.
straight GI.
No club gig. I don't know why I felt like we did nothing. No, right. Straight GIR. And Aditya, first hit or first 30 seconds into the first song has broken a string of his guitar. So all of that. That was Aditya's first gig with Bhayanak Maut. Yeah. Worst gig. Aditya wasn't around for this one. It was in 2004. It was in Manipal.
I was 2 years old. Yeah.
Correct. It was a gig that was organized on Christmas Eve and Christmas in Manipal. And as you know, Manipal is a student, like,
Area.
it's just college
Hub.
city, man. Like, so everyone's gone home for Christmas. There's no one there. And this
Oh.
organizer, like, it's going to be like a football field full of kids. No one's there. So it's a huge stage, huge lights, travel, all the rubbish. We finally got in there to play to truck drivers who are passing by on the highway. And they've kind of realized, hey, there's some lights and sound and all. So
Let's
they've
go and
stopped.
enjoy.
And they've fully drunk, just standing, and like 5 truck drivers have watched both days of the show. So that experience all in all was shit. I don't
You
even
guys
think we
played
got
for
paid
2
it.
days.
I mean, it was a 2-day festival, so it was like for 2 days. There was lots of bands. Cryptos, we played this. Groove Lab, Vayu. Fuck, there were a
Vayu.
lot of bands, man. Yeah, lots of bands.
They were all the top bands
Scepter.
at that point. Yeah, everyone was there.
Yeah, we all were there for no reason. But anyway, that was a pretty shit gig. And like Venki said, fuck, best gig definitely. Oslo is right up there, just because it was like all the hard work, all the everything, all those dreams, aspirations. That one tick off the list of played an international show. Oslo, that was great. Traveling out with the band for the first time, that was awesome. Launchpad also was a very pivotal gig for us. It was very important. Like we had a lot of kind of became a household name after that gig. But I would date back the first gig where we kind of realized, okay, we're actually good, and we can scale even higher heights. Was NLS 2004, the year we won, because we were up against some serious competition. We were part of the amateur AMROC thing or whatever. Like we were the competing bands, and the band that would win would get like 25K or something like that. So we won best band, and I won best drummer. So something about that night, like kind of, at least for Venki and I, we realized, yeah, okay, we take this seriously. We like put our minds to this. Yeah, this is definitely this is we can go somewhere with this. So, yeah.
Also, that gig is when, because before that gig, people thought, oh, this is that same joke band, right? So at
Yeah,
that
because we
point, I
had gone a
think
year before that and hug out.
hug out,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but the next year we came back and won that, and Rahul got best drummer. So it was like a shift, and people thought,
and
okay,
we're like,
this
Deklo.
Yeah, we
this
we kind
band
of
could.
went with that intention. We were like, we want to
Yes,
go and
yes.
fucking win it. So like, yeah.
Exactly.
And then yeah, so that was like another. That was like like that was the first taste of success or whatever. Like like hard
That's
work and a
bad.
payoff or whatever. For me, that was my list. Yeah.
Like for a college band at that point, like
I strangely have a feeling. I don't know if it's Aditya's worst gig, but let's see what his answers
Bro, worst gigs.
are.
So I've had so many, bro.
But one in particular comes to
I've
mind.
had a gig where I had to retire after because I was having a migraine and we were in somewhere in Gujarat.
oh
Then
yeah,
Baroda,
I,
yeah.
Baroda, I
Undying
played
enough.
my first proper gig, like playing original music, was this RAIT show where I had set my neck volume at zero, and in a solo, I flipped the switch and there is no sound.
Yeah.
And we are playing against bands like Demonic Resurrection,
Holy
Infernal
shit.
Wrath, Scribe. So we stop and we start again. Then, yeah, I mean, so
What was
many
your
bad
reaction?
gigs.
Uh-oh.
There were zero fuck sound guy's problem. I mean, nobody's going to
Yes.
know that your knob is volume. Only I know that,
हाँ
right?
हम लोग like
So
हाँ
we
hey
call it a
तुम
technical glitch and move on. Then there was
हाँ
that gig where Rahul wasn't playing and we had Gautam Deb and sound was shit. We were playing in a hangar or some auditorium of some sorts and things were just really bad, but the crowd was having a great time. So that was
these were the
good.
I
list
don't
I
know
of
how
think
you missed the
interesting
Goa
gigs.
gig, man, where you broke your arm. I thought
Oh
that would
shit.
classify as worst gig ever.
no, bro, that is, but I played the gig, right?
But you
What am
played
I
the
So
gig.
how
missing?
is it the
What am I
worst?
missing? What am I missing? Who broke whom?
I
Aditya
fell
broke his
down, broke
arm,
my
yeah,
arm, and we
just
played
before
the
the gig.
show.
Oh my god.
as we were going up on stage, just before we went up on stage, he's fallen
He's,
down.
And he's like, huh?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
yeah,
there
it
was
pretty
a
was.
much that.
fracture. It was a
Ah.
fracture, but yeah,
So you
I could
put
get
And then we
away
had
by.
this thing around and then went on to perform.
It was on my picking hand, so this bone kind of got
Oh.
fractured. So I mean, when you're playing guitar, you don't really need to move that part too much. You can just rest it
So
on
it
the
sits
rest
on
your.
the body of the guitar.
Yeah, I mean, kind of managed. Yes, I mean, so I mean, it's a
Sounds
rock and
painful.
roll victory, bro. It's a rock
rock
and
and
roll
roll victory
victory.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
best gig, but there's so many. I think that NH7, which we played with Aman, there
Yeah.
was a BM show where we opened for Megadeth in Bombay.
Oh yes.
That
Richard Selikudas.
that was there. Then I think playing to some 10,000, 15,000 people in Shillong on one of the
And
NH7s.
it's seven. Mm.
That was good. I think there was this NH7 in Pune where we had the highest turnout for this slot where like everyone just left all the venues and they came to kind of
Oh,
see us. And there was this huge mosh pit and wall of
people
death
killing
going
themselves.
on there. Yeah. There was this one show where we were opening for Megadeth and we ended up sounding better than Megadeth. And they
Oh
were playing the
yes.
entire Countdown to Extinction. They were playing the entire Countdown to
Mm,
Extinction album on that
mm.
tour. And
Oh.
their sound was a mess. We sounded better than them. Uh,
How are
and
you guys
like,
feeling
and
after
I
that?
think, bro, it's all good. But I think for me, like the most important gig would be, I think when me and Venki were playing with this band called Amidst the Chaos, and we ended up winning Mood Indigo.
Yeah.
So that would probably be one of my best gigs because by that time BM had already moved to this point where they had already won the. So Baba had gone from winning that Mudai with Bhayanak Maut in 2005. So he was already a name on the scene to judging in 2006 and
Oh God.
judging incarnation of our band at that point to joining our band and winning that to a full house. And that was the point where all the bands that made it to the final were playing originals. Not one cover was played on that entire uh,
Lineup, yeah.
entire lineup. Yeah. So, and in fact, Parikrama came after that and played, I think, a full set of covers. So, and the entire Amrock thing was just originals.
Hmm.
So, I think winning that with Baba was a great gig. I think Launchpad and GIR first, the first GIR where we played as a
First, yeah,
five-piece.
That's
JR
what I'm saying.
Shillong also.
Best gig is too many, man. GR Shillong as well.
Yeah,
Good. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a lot of
List
fond
continues.
memories. The list goes
yeah, the
on. Yeah.
list is
Mhm.
huge.
Oh, are you
Look
serious?
who's here.
Look who's here.
Ishan has come.
Oh.
And
He
he's
Yeah,
left
gone.
he's
also.
gone.
Yeah.
Very good.
He would have
Classic.
accidentally clicked on it.
Oh, fuck. Ah, correct.
You would have thought it's a link to a mix or something.
Google Drive access.
Interesting. That's interesting. So a lot of gigs. So do you guys remember the count of numbers? How many gigs you played till now?
Shit,
I mean, that's
there was a time when I had a count, but I've lost it. And I mean,
We
then
have
there was a
lost
time. I
count,
mean,
yeah.
2009, 2010. Up till then, I
Hmm.
had a count. I've stopped keeping
Hmm.
count after that.
Mhm.
Yeah, but no, I don't have a number. But yeah, lots, man, lots. A lot of good memories. Lots of travel. Lots of lots of stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. One last question for all of you. One tip from every one of you for all the artists and bands out here on every level. Like if someone is beginning, if someone is in the intermediate stage, if someone is in the professional stage, or if they want to achieve something of that sort.
I think obviously getting good at what your skill set is, that's important. If you are going to associate yourself with other band members, make sure that it's a relationship or a dynamic that doesn't require time or investment to maintain. It is kind of natural and flowing, especially if there is a certain chemistry that is there. Identify said bandmates' best qualities, appreciate it, and I think that would definitely help and copyright your music.
Yeah, important tip. Who would
Uh,
go next?
I don't. So I mean, so wait. When you asked this question, you said for beginners, for intermediates, and professionals. You mean
Mhm.
like broadly across the board advice for everyone, or
No,
just
one tip that will
like?
work in every level.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to narrow down to one, but
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm finding it very
I
difficult
think
to answer that.
be little. No, that's not really true. I mean, if you're rooming with someone, take a shower. That I mean, that what does that kind of shit count? No.
No.
Sleep before a flight,
It-
bro.
Yeah, sleep before a flight, bro.
break
Sleep
a
on the flight.
hand.
Sleep on the flight.
Try
Instead of break a
Don't
avoiding
leg.
go
Exactly.
don't go out drinking before an early morning flight.
don't
Yeah.
go out drinking before an flight. Try to avoid early morning flights. Get to the airport early on time with equipment in hand so you can try to get in 38 and beyond because that's first boarding. You will get place to put your fucking guitar into the overhead cabin. If
So
you're
all
traveling
that
with
kind of
drum,
shit, yeah, it's useful shit, man. This is advice.
Useful shit. Yeah,
But I
exactly.
mean, I guess like you should be able to always like keep what your, I mean, what is the objective? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? If it's playing in a band for the passion of it, for the fun of it, because you enjoy doing it, then, that should be what you do and that should be what you focus. Don't have higher expectations than that. Like, so, and try and be genuine to what it is that you're doing, the music, the level you're playing at. Don't try to go beyond that. Like try and stay within that limit itself and work
Mhm.
the ranks, kind of grow the ranks and get better. Like it's I guess okay. The best way to summarize is this shit takes time. It's not an overnight thing. So like just like trust the process. Let it just take its time. You just keep chipping away, do your thing. Yeah, and that's what I guess that would be my advice. Yeah.
If you're 24, 25 and find yourself traveling with other musicians and at 4 a.m. at an airport in Delhi in a Jan, you're probably in it for the passion, the money, or you're a dealer. Things are
Or
sorted
you're a,
out.
Whoa, oh my
or you're
God.
a what?
Dealer.
What is the last?
So there's not much to choose of. Choose wisely.
Important tip. Or you're a dealer. Shit. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, for me, it's like if you're not having fun, then don't do it. As simple as that. Whatever it is, like it might be the band members or the kind of music that you're making. Just make sure that you're having fun.
Otherwise, you have to like, quit because it will not go any far.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, it will require time and investment to maintain itself. That chemistry itself will not take fruit in form of music or art in any which way or format, which we've been stuck in for quite a few phases. So,
Well, with that being said, we would like to end over here. For the audience, I'm saying these guys obviously don't need an introduction, but I'll leave every possible link of all the social media handles these guys have. Please to check the music out. Please do stream. I honestly have no words. Please
Also, we have a new song coming up called "Just a Metal Kid," so please look out for that.
stay tuned for that.
Whenever.
BhayanakMaut.com. Okay. So
with Uday Benegal.
Okay, so I'll do one thing. I'll have a podcast where I have Uday sir again with all of you guys.
Yeah. That'll be wild. Yeah.
That'll be good if we can do like a just a Metal Kid podcast then.
Sure. We would love to do that. I would love to do that. Well, with that being said, like I have no words like to describe how good I'm feeling from like 2 years to like 18, 20 years sitting with you guys over here. Thank you so very much for joining from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot.
Thanks a lot, man.
Great.
Thanks for having us,
fun.
man. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Take care. And more music coming. I'll keep listening to Ranti Nasha till then and all the other albums.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's stuff after that, bro.
Okay.
3 albums into like 4, 5 singles.
I promise. I'll disturb you, Aditya, sir. After listening.
There are 20 songs we've released after that.
Oh, so this is a plethora. That's for sure. Okay, I'll take my time and listen to you. That's for sure. I'll disturb you after that. Once again, thank you so very much and stay metal. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Good night.